Following the Department of Defense's AI procurement announcement on May 1, 2026, the media consensus was immediate and uniform. The Pentagon had signed sweeping agreements to deploy AI models across its classified networks, distributing contracts among 8 major technology companies. Press coverage overwhelmingly fixated on one detail. Anthropic, a leading frontier AI lab, was explicitly cut from that multi-vendor list. This narrative of exclusion aligned with the events of February 2026, when the U.S. government designated Anthropic as a formal supply chain risk. However, the operational data suggests a different reality. In April 2026, multiple federal agencies actively adopted Anthropic's newest model, Mythos, using specific exception authorities. The Pentagon did not ban Anthropic. It segmented its procurement architecture into 2 highly distinct channels. One channel is designed for redundant commodity capabilities, while the other is reserved exclusively for non-substitutable frontier tools. This architectural split dictates how defense tech stacks are integrated and how the market must model the value of the companies building them. This bifurcated system originates in a foundational contract dispute over how military operators are allowed to use AI. Anthropic refused to sign the Pentagon's standard All Lawful Purposes clause, demanding explicit guardrails against autonomous weapons targeting and mass domestic surveillance. The Defense Department rejected those limits. In response, it issued a severe supply chain risk designation against Anthropic, a label typically reserved for foreign adversaries. By March 2026, the Trump administration formalized the ban, ordering defense contractors to sever commercial ties of the company. The directive immediately triggered lawsuits in federal courts, resulting in legal injunctions that froze the formal implementation of the ban. Simultaneously, a separate friction emerged on the ground. Department of Defense personnel quietly refused internal orders to uninstall Anthropic's Claude because it outperformed authorized alternatives. To reconcile political compliance with operational necessity, the Defense Department developed a bifurcated procurement architecture. The May 1 announcement represents the first track, Channel 1, the multi-vendor classified stack. This diagram maps the 8 selected vendors, categorizing them into 3 distinct functional columns. The first column is the Cloud Plus model bucket. It includes hyperscalers like Microsoft, AWS, Google, and Oracle, who provide the necessary computational infrastructure alongside bundled AI models. The center column is the Pure Model Labs bucket, featuring OpenAI and the startup Reflection AI, providing raw frontier models unattached to a specific cloud provider. The final column holds the strategic partners. NVIDIA supplies the hardware substrate, and xAI provides a unique combination of satellite network integration and political alignment. All 8 vendors deploy their technology within secure, air-gapped, Impact Level 6 and 7 environments, accessible through the Pentagon's GenAI.mil portal. The core intent of Channel 1 is vendor lockout protection. If any single company fails a security review, the Pentagon can instantly route that workload to 7 other active providers. These companies are now competing for a pool of $32 billion in addressable Department of Defense AI and cloud spending through 2027. Because the capabilities in this channel are intentionally substitutable, the environment is high in volume but structurally low in margin. The Pentagon designed Channel 1 to purchase operational redundancy, deliberately avoiding reliance on any single AI provider. A secondary architecture operates in the shadow of that announcement. This is Channel 2. It is a single vendor environment containing exactly one isolated node, Anthropic. The catalyst for this separate channel is Anthropic's Claude Mythos preview. Mythos fills a specific capability gap. It is highly adept at discovering zero-day and undisclosed cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Since no other vendor matches this offensive cyber capability, the Defense Department uses exception authorities to bypass its own supply chain designation for this acquisition. This exception is rooted in a policy shift directed by DoD CTO Emil Michael. Michael framed Mythos as a separate national security moment. The military treats this capability like stealth aircraft, an asset it must acquire, regardless of disputes. The economics here rely on capability rent. The overall revenue pool in Channel 2 is smaller, but Anthropic commands significant negotiating leverage because the product is non-substitutable. When the strategic penalty of ignoring a capability gap outweighs the political risk of the supply chain designation, the Pentagon accepts single-vendor exposure. The market impact extends far beyond internal Pentagon policy, rippling through the entire defense industrial base. The Department of Defense's supply chain risk designation acts as a filter in the broader contracting ecosystem. First, major defense primes are migrating their delivery pipelines away from Anthropic to avoid compliance friction. This migration hands Channel 1 hyperscalers, specifically Microsoft and Google, a procurement-driven distribution advantage over their rivals. Second, it imposes a compliance tax on smaller and open-weight AI vendors. These companies must now choose between accepting the Pentagon's broad contractual terms or losing out on government distribution. Third, there is an international read-across as allied defense ministries reassess their reliance on U.S. precedents. These institutional tech stack migrations take significant effort to execute. They will likely outlast any eventual legal settlement between Anthropic and the U.S. government. Beyond the immediate loss of federal revenue, the May 1 split effectively rewired the infrastructure of global defense integration. A common market prediction assumes that this two-channel architecture will collapse once a political deal is reached. That prediction misreads the Pentagon's engineering trajectory. The military required structural redundancy long before the Anthropic contract dispute began. Maintaining both channels achieves political symmetry. Channel 1 distributes spending to aligned vendors, while Channel 2 delivers peak technical capabilities to operators. For business-to-government strategists, multi-vendor delivery pipelines are no longer an optional best practice. They are a mandatory baseline. This architectural reality directly alters the capital market implications for AI company valuations. Anthropic's pre-IPO valuation can no longer be modeled using the standard, volume-based metrics applied to its Channel 1 peers. Investors must separate the valuation into two parts, recognizing the lost volume of Channel 1 while applying a premium multiplier to the secure revenue of Channel 2. Federal AI procurement has matured into a segmented system, one that prioritizes redundancy for commodity work and single-source access for strategic frontier capabilities.